Welcome to Gemara Academy. In this class, we will learn Masechta Shabbos, Daf Beis Amud Beis, and Daf Gimel Amud Aleph. Let's begin. Amar le Rav Masna le Abaya. Rav Masna said to Abaya, he asked Abaya a question. Ha tamani havyan? Are these 8? Tarti srei havyan. There are 12. The Mishnah says, Yitzias HaShabbos Shtayim Shenarba B'fnim, Shtayim Shenarba B'chutz. There are 8 cases of Yitzias HaShabbos. But when you actually look at the Mishnah, there's a total of 12 cases, not 8. So why does it say there are 8 cases? It should have said there are 12. How do we have 12 cases? Let's see. The Ani has 2 cases where he's entirely chayiv because he did the complete malacha on his own. Either the malacha of achnasa, carrying into Rosh Hashanah, or the malacha of Eitzah, carrying out into the Rosh Hashanah. In addition, he has another 4 cases where he did part of the Isser, he did part of the malacha, and therefore it's Asr. What are the other 4 cases? So in achnasa he has 2, and in Eitzah he has 2. For achnasa, let's see, he either lifted up the item and extended his hand inwards, or he just lifted up the item and the balabais completed the malacha. So those are 2 cases of achnasa that he did part of the malacha, lifting and extending, or just lifting. And so for Eitzah, we also have 2 cases where he did part of the Isser. Either the balabais lifted the item, or the balabais lifted the item and extended his hand outward. So the Eitzah is occurring, and the Ani completed it. So we have 2 cases of achnasa that he did part of the malacha, 2 for Eitzah we did part of the malacha. So we have a total of 4 cases where he did an Isser, plus the 2 cases that he did the entire malacha on his own, so it's chayiv. And the same thing for the balabais. Either the balabais did the whole malacha of Eitzah, or he did the whole malacha of achnasa, so he's chayiv since he did the whole malacha on his own. And then an additional 4 cases of Isser where he did part of the malacha. Once again, 2 by Eitzah and 2 by achnasa. The 2 by Eitzah are either he lifted up the item and extended his hand outward, or he just lifted up the item, and the Ani completed the malacha in those 2 cases, but the balabais did part of it, or 2 places where he did an Isser by achnasa, where the Ani either lifted up the item and extended his hand inward, or the Ani just lifted up the item, and the balabais is the one that completed the malacha. So we have 4 cases of Isser for the balabais, plus 2 cases where he did the entire malacha on his own, and it's chayiv. So each one has 6 cases for a grand total of 12. Abaya responded to Rav Masna, and according to you, Shisrei Havin, it's 16. Why do you ask the Tana says 8 and then counts 12? You should have asked the Tana says 8 and then counts 16 cases. Where does the Tana count 16 cases? In the case where the Ani did the whole malacha of Hachnasa, for example, or he did the entire malacha of Eitzah, the Mishnah rules Ha'ani chayiv u'balabayis pater. So we have 2 cases for the balabayis, where the Ani did the whole malacha of achnasa into the hand of the balabayis, or the Ani did the whole malacha of Eitzah from the hand of the balabayis. There's 2 more cases for the balabayis, and also for the Ani 2 cases where the balabayis did Eitzah into the hand of the Ani, or achnasa from the hand of the Ani. The Mishnah rules balabayis chayiv Ha'ani pater. So there's a case for the Ani where he's pater. Omer Leah, Rav Masna responded to Abaya, Halei Kasha, that's not difficult to me. The fact that the Mishnah doesn't count those 4 cases doesn't trouble me. Because Bishlema, it makes sense to me, Bava de Reisha, the first series of cases where one person did the whole malacha. So it says Pater, it's Pater or Mutter. It means the person that's Pater is Pater or Mutter since he did nothing whatsoever. So Bishlema, Bava de Reisha, makes sense to me. The first series of cases where it's Pater or Mutter, Lekotani doesn't teach it since there's no Isser involved. There's no reason to count it as a case. The person's entirely Mutter in what he did. El above the Seifa, but the series of cases of the Seifa, the Pater of Al-Asr, where each person did part of the Malacha, and the Pater means Pater but Asr, Kasha, that's difficult. Why isn't it counted in one of the cases if he did an Isser? Now Rav Masna in his response to Abaya said that when the Mishnah says Pater in the Reisha, where one person did the whole Malacha and the other person was just there, Rav Masna said that that's Pater and Mutter. The person who's Pater, it's Mutter since he did nothing whatsoever, it's perfectly fine. Ask the Gemara challenges that. Mi'ika bekulas Shabbos Pater or Mutter? Is there in the entire Masechta of Shabbos a case that's Pater or Mutter? Va'amar Shmuel, but Shmuel said, Kol P'tur de Shabbos, all the cases of Pater throughout the Masechta of Shabbos, Pater aval Asr are Pater but Asr bar mahani class, with the exception of these 3, the Pater and Mutter, which are Pater and Mutter. And what are they? Say that's Tzvi, the trapping of a deer. But say that's Nachash, and the trapping of a snake. Umafetz Mursa, and if a person pops a boil. And the reason for that is explained elsewhere. So how can you say that the Mishnah, when it says Pater, means Pater and Mutter, but Shmuel told us that all the times it says Pater in Masechta Shabbos, it means Pater but Asr, except for 3, and our Mishnah is not included in one of the exceptions. And says the Gemara, Ki itzrich alei l'Shmuel. When did Shmuel need to tell us that a certain Pater was Pater and Mutter? It's P'turi de Ka'av and Ma'isa. Those are P'turim where the person did something, so you would think he's chayiv. He trapped a deer, he trapped a snake, he popped a boil. So in those cases, since he did an action, Shmuel finds it necessary to tell us that although it says pater, it doesn't mean the typical pater but asur, rather it means pater but mutter. But pater de loika avid ma'isa, pater where the person didn't do any action, ikatuva, there are many of them, and Shmuel has no need to tell us that it means mutter, since obviously it's mutter. The person did nothing. He was just present in the story, but he took no part in the malacha. Continues the Gemara, Mikol Makom Tartas Rehavin. Nevertheless, even though we resolved that it isn't 16, but we still have a question about 12. Why does the Mishnah say there are 8 cases and then actually present 12? Answers the Gemara, the Potter cases that can bring through that case, a Chiyav Chatas Kachashav, the Mishnah counts. The Potter cases where the person cannot come through that case to a Chiyav Chatas, Loi Kachashav, the Tana doesn't count. What this means, according to Rashi, is the only cases the Tana is counting are the cases where the person did the akira. So let's take, for example, the ani, where the ani lifted up the item and extended his hand inwards, or just lifted up the item, and in those cases the balabai is finished. But the ani also participated in the malacha, and therefore it's asur. Besides being asur, it could also bring to a chiyav chatas, because since the person began the malacha, it's possible that he'll come to complete it. Those are the cases the Tana is counting. However, the cases where the balabaya started the malacha and the ani only completed it, we're not counting that under the ani. And the reason is because it's impossible to come to a chiyav chatas. Since he's only completing it, he didn't start it, he cannot come from that to do a chiyav chatas. So in other words, the Tana of the Mishnah is only counting cases where there's an actual chiyav chatas or cases that can bring to a chiyav chatas. The cases where there's an isser involved, but they can't bring to a chiyav chatas, the Tana is not counting, although they are asr. Now the Gemara is going to ask a question. We're saying over here that if 2 people do a malacha, both are asr, and one of them can even come to a chiyav chatas. At any rate, though, the extent of the problem is that it's asr. It's not, however, chayav chatas. Ask the Gemara, Shneim Pturim, are they both pater? Vaisavid the malacha mivenayu. But a malacha was performed between the 2 of them. Between the 2 of them, a malacha was done. The second person should be chayiv to bring a carbon chatas, because he completed and made whole the malacha of Heitzar Rechanasa. Since he completed the malacha, he should be chayiv a carbon chatas. Answers the Gemara, Tanya, we learned in a brayso. Rabbi Omer, Rabbi says, Me'ama Oretz Ba'aseiso, the pasuk says regarding the Chiyav Chatas, if a person among you, Me'ama Oretz, from among the people, Ba'aseiso, when that person does one of the things that Hashem said not to do, he needs to bring a carbon chatas. We explain the word Ba'aseiso as follows: Ha'oisa es kula, one who does the entire Isser needs to bring a carbon chatas. V'loya oisa es mektsasa, not one who does part of it. Yachid va'asa oisa chayev, an individual who did the malacha is chayev. Shnayim va'asa oisa pturim, 2 people that did it are going to be pater. Continues the Gemara and brings another proof, a proof to this teaching. Itmar nami, we also learned. Amar Reb Chia Bagamda said, Nizraka mi picha bora v'amr, was thrown out of the mouths of the people in the group, and they said. In other words, everybody is in agreement. Ba'asaisa, we learn from the word ba'asaisa in the pasuk that Yachid Sha'asa Chayev, an individual who did the Isser is Chayev to bring a carbon chatas. Shnayim Sha'asa, the 2 people that did this an Isser, P'turim, are pater from being a carbon chatas. So to summarize the Gemara, we basically explained why the Tana of our Mishnah says that there are 8 cases, even though he actually presents 12 cases, or even 16, and the reason is because although the Tana is presenting 16 cases, he's only counting those that there's an actual Chiyav Chatas, or those that can bring to a Chiyav Chatas. And in addition, we also explained the reason that even though between the 2 people the malacha was done, nevertheless there is no Chiyav Chatas, because a Chiyav Chatas is only there if one person did the entire Isser from beginning to end.